All right, let's dive right into this explainer and demystify the technology that is suddenly absolutely everywhere. Welcome to our journey under the hood of generative AI. We're going to break down exactly how this powerful tech works, why it's fundamentally changing how we interact with the digital world, and what you actually need to know to navigate it all.
You've totally been there recently, right? You're scrolling through your feed, you see a viral image or video, and you find yourself asking this exact question. Is that real or is it AI? Maybe it was a photo of a politician in some ridiculous outfit, or a stunning piece of digital art that just seemed a little too perfect. Suddenly, that line between human creation and machine generation has gotten incredibly blurry.
To understand exactly how we got here, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Meet generative AI. 2. Generative versus discriminative AI. 3. How language models learn. 4. The danger of biases. 5. Spotting deepfakes and fiction. And finally, 6. The media literacy era. Section 1. Meet generative AI. Let's lock down the basics and define the terms that are completely dominating our digital lives right now. Okay, so generative AI. We're talking about artificial intelligence models that learn the underlying patterns of existing data. And then, here's the real kicker, they generate completely new content. Text, images, audio, you name it. The crucial point here is that this tech relies on massive amounts of data to create something entirely new. When you ask an AI art generator to draw a futuristic city, it's not just Googling an existing picture. It is literally painting a brand new image, pixel by pixel, based on visual patterns it's already learned. And when we're talking about text, we have to talk about LLMs, or large language models. This is a computer program trained on massive amounts of text to understand, generate, and manipulate human language. So when you use a popular AI chatbot to help you write an email or summarize a dense article, you are interacting with an LLM. It's honestly mind-blowing to think about, but this program has essentially read a vast portion of the entire internet just to learn the rules of human communication.
Now, what's super interesting is that this didn't just happen overnight. Chatbots actually date all the way back to the 1960s with a program called ELIZA. But the really massive leaps, those happened recently. In 2014, the invention of GANs, Generative Adversarial Networks, allowed computers to generate hyper-realistic images for the very first time. Then, boom, 2022 hits, ChatGPT is released, and it sparks a worldwide boom. These recent breakthroughs took the tech from simple, canned responses to actually mimicking human thought and creativity.
Moving right along to Section 2, Generative versus Discriminative AI. To really get why this is so revolutionary, we've got to compare generative AI to the older AI that's been working behind the scenes for years. Think about discriminative AI for a second. Its main goal is simply to classify data and make predictions. It outputs labels, probabilities, and decisions, like the fraud detection system at your bank scanning your transactions. Now look at generative AI. Its goal is to simulate entirely new data. It outputs actual text, images, and audio. It writes blogs, it composes music. Basically, older AI sorts existing things, while generative AI creates brand new things.
To put another way, discriminative AI learns the boundaries between categories. It's the spam filter catching a bad email by learning the boundaries of what makes an email spam. But generative AI, it learns the full pattern to build something from scratch. It learns the entire pattern of language, meaning it can actually write the email itself. It's kind of like the difference between a music critic who can categorize a song and a composer who can sit down and write a brand new one.
All right, Section 3, How Language Models Learn. Let's pop the hood a little further and look at how these massive language models actually get so incredibly smart. How do they go from blank slates to writing poetry?
At its absolute core, it's about learning to differentiate between, say, an apple and a Boeing 787, and figuring out how to describe each of them. Now, a program can't learn from a single sentence, but after analyzing literally trillions of words, it maps out the logic of human language. It learns the statistical context of the word apple versus the context of a Boeing 787, and it figures out how to describe each of them based entirely on how human beings have described them in the past.
To pull that off, the models go through this exact four-step pipeline. First up, data collection, gathering billions of documents from all across the web. Second, learning patterns, where the model analyzes the grammar and context of all that text. Third, fine-tuning, where human developers jump in and tweak the model so it's good at specific tasks, like answering questions. And finally, step 4, evaluation and testing, just to make sure it actually functions properly in the real world.
But, hey, reality check here, and we all need to remember this.
The AI is simply arranging that data in a particular way based on probabilities it calculates from its training data. Have you ever wondered how an AI actually knows what to say? The truth is, it isn't thinking at all. It's a giant, incredibly complex math equation predicting which word is most likely to come next. It doesn't actually understand the words it's saying. It just knows the mathematical pattern of how they fit together.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, the danger of biases. Since AI is essentially just a giant mirror reflecting human data back at us, we really have to talk about what happens when that mirror reflects our flaws.
Because the AI is just trying to predict patterns and sound confident while doing it, it sometimes just completely makes things up. I love this quote from one expert who bluntly noted, ChatGPT was trained on real-world text, and the real world essentially runs on fluent BS. This is what we call hallucinating. The AI will confidently state a totally fake fact or just invent a historical event out of thin air, just because the words fit the mathematical pattern it was looking for. And beyond just making things up, the data the AI learns from carries some pretty heavy common biases. Because of the vast amount of data pulled from the internet, these models are often dominated by a white, male perspective. They're highly influenced by American culture and capitalism, they heavily favor the English language, and they rely a lot on demographic and cultural stereotypes. So, if you ask an AI to generate an image of a professor or a nurse, the data it relies on can lead to highly stereotyped outputs. It just defaults to the loudest statistical pattern in its training data.
That brings us to Section 5, spotting deepfakes and fiction. This tendency to mimic our data and sometimes just completely invent reality is one of the most urgent problems with generative AI today. I'm talking, of course, about deepfakes. These are realistic-looking manipulated videos or audio powered by artificial intelligence that can easily mislead viewers by fabricating reality entirely. With today's tools, someone can create a hyper-realistic video of a politician saying something they never actually said, or clone a family member's voice to run a scam. This is a massive threat to the integrity of our digital landscape, and it's something we have to take incredibly seriously.
So how do we actually defend ourselves? Here's how you spot a deepfake. You've got to look for these subtle physical glitches. Look for inconsistencies in the lighting. Check the shadows for unnatural angles. Examine the lip syncing really closely to see if it matches up perfectly. And of course, always verify the information with corroborative sources. See, since AI doesn't genuinely understand the physical 3D world, it just mimics 2D pixels. Spotting these visual glitches is absolutely your first line of defense.
Let's wrap things up with Section 6, the media literacy era. Let's see how all of this builds into an essential survival guide for the internet right now.
Here's the bottom line. Critical thinking is the antidote to the deception that deepfakes propagate. We simply can't rely solely on better technology to filter out AI illusions for us. Media literacy, understanding how media is made, recognizing biases, and actively questioning what we see, along with our own critical thinking, are the true solutions here. We have to train our brains right alongside our algorithms.
Now, if you feel a bit overwhelmed by all of this, you are definitely not alone. Right now, surveys show that 40% of people report feeling equally excited and concerned about AI's growing role in daily life. We all recognize the incredible potential for productivity and creativity, for sure, but it's completely natural to see the risks to truth and fairness too.
Which leaves us with this one crucial question to ponder. Will our choices, or the technology itself, determine the future of our reality? AI is an incredibly powerful tool. It can write code, create amazing art, summarize vast amounts of research, but it is entirely up to us, as developers, as policymakers, and as everyday users, to navigate its outputs wisely. The future isn't predetermined, it's what we choose to build. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.